What would you do if a fortune sat open beside you? He's a billionaire, faking sleep to test his maid's little girl. She reaches into the safe and changes everything. Stay, because that one quiet choice exposes a bully, restores pay, and births a scholarship. The study was so quiet the clock felt loud. Sheikh Khalid lounged in a deep leather chair, eyes closed, the kind of stillness that passes for sleep. His kandura fell in clean lines, a book half open on his lap. A single lamp washed the room in, warm gold. Across from him, the blue safe stood deliberately ajar, velvet interior exposed, stacks of cash and two small gold bars angled like teeth. A trap, careful, patient, cruel to his own doubt. Diana, the housemaid, moved like a whisper along the shelves, dusting, straightening frames. Her daughter, Jasmine, wore a plain white dress and yellow rubber gloves far too big for her wrists. She tiptoed, one curious step, then another. The safe threw soft light across her face. Behind the curtain of fake sleep, Khalid's heart drummed. Will she touch it? Weeks ago, a man he'd called brother siphoned millions from one of his foundations. Trust had snapped somewhere quiet inside him. Tonight, with a door left open and a fortune within reach, he had dressed his disbelief as vigilance. Jasmine stopped at the safe. She stared as if at a fishbowl filled with impossible creatures. Her small gloved hand rose, wavered, and reached. Khalid almost flinched, but she didn't grab. She tidied. Gently, carefully, Jasmine stacked the bills by size, aligned the edges by tapping them on the velvet, and nudged the gold bars so they sat parallel. She looked pleased at the symmetry the way children are pleased by aligned crayons. "Jasmine," Diana hissed, noticing at last. "Habibti, don't touch." "Mama, it was messy," she whispered. "He'll be happy when he wakes up." From the chair, a single tear warmed the corner of a Khalid's eye. He swallowed hard. A child surrounded by a fortune. And she fixed it, not took it. Silence returned, softer now. Maybe goodness isn't gone, he thought. Maybe I've been looking in the wrong rooms. If a child can change a billionaire's heart in one quiet minute, imagine what comes next. Subscribe to Humanity's Stories, because this is only the beginning. The next afternoon, Khalid paused at the kitchen threshold. No one saw him. Diana stood at the counter counting coins into a reused jar. Tens with tens, fives with fives, she murmured. Jasmine, chin on the table, watched with the rapture. Children reserve for rituals. When a coin rolled, Jasmine chased it, giggling, then set it back where it belonged. Diana kissed her forehead. We don't take what isn't ours. We leave places better than we found them. That is our name. Jasmine nodded solemnly, as if sworn in. Later, Diana packed a lunch with methodical care. 2 small sandwiches wrapped tight, a note folded like a secret. She tucked one into a second-hand backpack patched at the seams. No speeches, no self-pity, just order, kindness, and a smile that made scarcity look less sharp. Khalid felt something unclench. He'd built glass towers, funded hospitals, flown across oceans to sign checks that fixed broken roofs. But this quiet ethic, felt like the true foundation he'd always wanted his money to stand on, stronger than any charity board could approve. 2 days later, Khalid crossed the courtyard and heard voices flatten into whispers. Near the staff doorway, Adil, the estate manager, stood with a clipboard pressed to his chest like a badge. "You're late again," he said to Diana, voice smooth as cold cream. "And now your child is touching the sheikh's private things. Very bold." "I'm not late, sir," Diana replied, steady but careful. "I came when I was told." Adil smiled without warmth. "I keep the schedule. I keep everything safe. Jasmine." Shrank behind her mother, her yellow glove peeking from a trembling fist. Khalid stepped forward, but Adil didn't see him yet. "One complaint, Diana. Adil continued, and your access card is gone. People like you come and go, understand? Khalid's jaw tightened. People like you. He could have thundered then, pulled rank, issued decrees. Instead, he watched. And in the watching, he noticed small things. The driver averting his gaze around Adil. Kitchen deliveries recounted only by Adil. The new cameras in the side corridor that conveniently never seemed to capture anything. A pattern of control that smelled like a leak. If he confronted now, Adil would scurry, bury, deny. No, better to prove. That night, Khalid sent 3 messages. One to Layla, his head of HR, one to Bilal, chief of security, and one to himself. Note that read simply, "Believe what you see, not what you feel." Monday. Layla arrived with 2 folders and the expression of someone who prefers data to drama. Payroll anomalies, she said, laying out printouts. Tiny deductions labeled uniform fines, late penalties, misc, losses. Small enough to hide, big enough to hurt. All authorized by Adil. We don't fine household staff, Layla added. Not without a signed policy. There is none. Khalid's throat cooled. Who checks deliveries? Adil, Bilal said. And only Adil. Tuesday. The driver, Rao, held his hat in his hands. Sir, I never wanted to cause trouble, he said, but last month a box of imported tea went missing while I prayed. Adil said it would be taken from my pay. I didn't argue. My son's school fee was due. He lifted apologetic eyes. I am not a thief, sir, Khalid nodded. I believe you. Wednesday. Bilal installed 2 temporary pinhole cameras where Adil's new ones had blind spots, near the pantry door and inside the small storage where staff bags were kept. We'll mirror their feeds, Bilal said. Yours will be secure. Layla prepared sealed cash envelopes with marked bills logged by serial number. If any fines are collected, we'll know where those bills travel. A minor snag. Adil lingered near the pantry, glancing at the new spots as if the air had shifted. Khalid watched the feed, pulse quickening. Had he noticed? Adil moved on, but doubt lingered, adding urgency. Thursday. Adil summoned Diana to his office, a glass cube he liked because everyone could see him. A suspicious incident occurred, he announced, tapping his clipboard. You were seen, near the study safe. Tsk. He clicked his tongue, then leaned in. I can make this go away. A small fine. 1 month's salary deducted in installments. Agree? Diana's eyes flashed, then steadied. I didn't steal. My daughter tidied. If there's a complaint, I will speak to Sheikh Khalid. Adil's smile sharpened. And tell him what? That your child handles his money? He slid a form across the table. Sign. From the corridor, Bilal watched the reflection on the glass. Khalid stood in the shadow of the arch. He wanted to step in. Layla's hand pressed his sleeve once. Wait. That night, Layla slipped a sealed envelope labeled Uniform Reimbursement, Diana into the petty cash drawer in Adil's office. Cameras watched, serial numbers logged. Bilal set the system to mirror, Adil's cameras to a separate drive. A message went out to a longtime supplier, Fahad. Deliver tomorrow. Bring your original invoice. Khalid wrote a second note to himself. Do not mistake silence for peace. Friday morning. The sun came in clean. Staff gathered in the courtyard. Routine briefing, Adil said. Clipboard, sunglasses. The air of a man performing importance. Fahad's van rolled in. Boxes of specialty tea, cleaning supplies, a small crate. Of dates. He hopped out with an easy smile and waved the original invoice. Morning, Adil met him with a flourish. As always, he said loudly, we pride ourselves on accuracy. He recounted the boxes, directed 2 to the pantry, and, briefly, walked 1 to the side storage himself. The pinhole camera caught the detour. A sealed envelope went from the petty cash drawer to Adil's inner jacket. Another camera saw the sleeve bulge, inside his pocket, marked bills warmed to skin. Khalid stepped forward, hands behind his back. "A deal," he said pleasantly. A moment. The courtyard stilled, murmurs rippled, eyes darted, breaths held. "We've had losses," Khalid continued. "Deductions, complaints, I want to understand." He nodded to Layla, who opened a folder. "First, a matter about fines. There is no policy, yet deductions were made." Her finger landed on lines of payroll. Names, amounts, signatures authorized by Adil. Adil tried to laugh. It cracked. "Clerical errors. We corrected them." "Did you?" Layla asked, handing him today's petty cash register with a gap, and next to it a sealed envelope that should not have moved. Uniform reimbursement, Diana, now missing from the drawer. "Misplaced," Adil said. Bilal rolled out a monitor. "We don't usually do this," he said, "but transparency is a good teacher." He played the first clip. Adil in his office, opening the petty cash drawer, sliding the envelope into his jacket. The second, Adil walking the extra box to the side storage, entering alone, re-emerging lighter. The third, a split screen of his hand counting bills, and the serial numbers of those same bills matched to Layla's list. Rao stared. Diana's hands trembled. Jasmine squeezed her mother's fingers, sensing the checkmate. Adil looked around for an exit that wasn't there. "I secure this estate," he said. "I protect the sheikh's interests. I take measures. You'd all drown without me." Fahad raised his invoice. "Strange," he said. "My deliveries never drown anywhere else." "And the threats?" Layla asked coolly. "Sign the deduction or lose your card. People like you?" Khalid stepped closer until Adil's cologne thinned. "My interests are people," he said, quietly. "Any order built on fear isn't order. It's a theft we pretend not to see." Adil tried one last gambit. "The girl touched your safe." Khalid smiled. "Yes," he said. "She fixed my mess." He turned to the staff. "No more unauthorized deductions. Back pay today. New complaint channels, anonymous and direct. To Bilal. Escort Mr. Adil to collect his personal items. He will answer for the rest. Elsewhere." "You can't," Adil sputtered. "Not only can I," Khalid said, "I will." To Layla. "File the report. Include the footage and logs. Let the law decide the rest." No applause, just a long breath out. Diana wiped her eyes and half bowed, words failing. Khalid only shook his head, gentle. "You were honest when no one was watching," he said. "That counts here." 6 months later, the courtyard looked the same and entirely different. On a small table, a stack of sealed envelopes lay ready, back pay, corrected wages, and a printed policy packet in plain language. Beside them, a blue folder with gold lettering, the Jasmine Scholarship, for the children of staff. A photo of a smiling girl with yellow gloves was taped to the inside cover, a private joke turned emblem. Diana wore a new badge, household coordinator, a role that mostly meant she was paid, for the leadership she'd always given. Rao had a calendar with his son's school fee dates highlighted. Met, not feared. In the pantry, the boxes lined up in honest rows, and the cameras now watched everything, equally. Khalid found Jasmine by the fountain, practicing cursive in the margins of her storybook. "Uncle Khalid," she said, because that's what she called him now. "Look, my S's aren't snakes anymore. They're perfect," he said, and meant more than letters. He thought of the tear that escaped his eye the night she tidied the safe. Not embarrassment, but the start of repairs, like rain on dry earth, 3 years later, Khalid stood at a modest stage in a community hall, not a ballroom. A row of students clutched folders stamped with the Jasmine Scholarship seal. Some would study nursing, others engineering. Jasmine liked numbers and wanted to be the kind of accountant who made sure nothing went missing for people who could least afford to lose it. Across his companies and homes, no-fear policies lived in handbooks and everyday habits. Audits happened as routinely as tea. Goodness he'd learned is a structure, tender in tone, strict in practice. As for Adil, there was no triumph in his fall, only a lesson filed under necessary losses. He measured victories by who stayed, not who left. "Uncle Khalid," Jasmine whispered from the front row, "honesty fixes everything, right?" He nodded. What small act of kindness has changed your life? Share your story in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Humanity Stories to discover more true-to-heart tales that prove doing the right thing always matters.